This is so silent. Wow! Concentrated. So, bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue à votre Centre national des arts. Welcome to your National Arts Center. Je m'appelle Caroline Hort et je suis la productrice générale de la danse ici au CNA and the executive producer of NAC Dance. On behalf of our president and CEO, Annabelle Cloutier, it is an honor to welcome you to Southern Hall today for the first free public event offering an intimate conversation with the crew of Artemis II moon mission. Yeah. On April 1st, some of you may have been among the hundreds of people who stood on Elgin Street in front of our building to watch the launch of the mission live on our 5-story digital lantern. How cool was that? That was very cool, yeah. So thank you all for being here today and to share another very special occasion with us. And thank you to the Canadian Space Agency for this partnership. So this hall has hosted so many countless unforgettable performances. Des artistes formidables qui ont marqué notre imaginaire collectif ont foulé la scène juste derrière moi. Aretha Franklin, Bob Dylan, Robert Charlebois, Charles Aznavour, Pina Bausch et tant d'autres. Today, we are immensely proud to welcome a different kind of trailblazer, astronauts who have carried human curiosity far beyond our planet. Et une pointe de fierté pour moi et tous les francophones, Jérémy est l'être humain qui a porté la langue française le plus loin de toute l'histoire de l'humanité. At the NAC, we believe deeply in the power of human expression through music, theater, dance, and today, space exploration. The performing arts and ventures into space share more than we might imagine. Discipline, precision, courage, and years, if not decades, of immense dedication, fueled by passion and a drive to explore what is possible. As I prepare for today's event, I came across an interview with NASA astronaut Christina Koch, who spoke about how astronauts must choreograph their movements in weightlessness to avoid colliding one with the other. Anyone in dance can relate to what that means. Bodies in motion, a spatial awareness, trust, and teamwork. Whether on stage or orbiting the moon, success depends on preparation, focus, and capacity to adapt. Artemis II marque un véritable tournant dans l'exploration humaine. C'était la première fois en plus de 50 ans que des êtres humains retournaient sur la Lune. Une étape clé qui ouvre la voie à la prochaine grande phase de l'exploration de l'espace lointain. The crew traveled farther than any humans before, flew past the far side of the moon, and returned safely to Earth with images that reminds us how vast and how fragile our world is. For Canada, the moment was historic. Jeremy Hansen became the first Canadian to fly around the moon, making Canada only the second nation ever to send an astronaut on such a mission. It's a very powerful symbol of our place and partnership in humanity's next great journey. So, dans quelques instants, Jeremy sera rejoint par ses coéquipiers de la mission Artemis II, Christina Koch, Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, et à leur côté, nous accueillons également, on a la chance, l'astronaute de l'Agence spatiale canadienne, Jenni Gibbons. That's right, we have 2 Canadian astronauts today. Jenni served as Artemis capsule communicator, or CAPCOM, and was Canadian backup for the mission, playing key roles at the heart of operations. We cannot wait to hear her. Without further ado, it is my great pleasure to welcome our guests. Veuillez souhaiter un accueil chaleureux à nos invités, les astronautes de l'Agence spatiale canadienne, Jeremy Hansen et Jenni Gibbons, ainsi que leurs coéquipiers de la NASA.
All right, Jeremy, can we just say, welcome home? Yes! What a great thing to come to Canada. We have our Capcom Jenni Gibbons. Our hometown hero, and hero of the United States of America as well, Jeremy Hansen. Christina Koch. Our truly world-famous pilot, Victor Glover. And I'm so glad the four of you have allowed me on the stage with you.
And Commander Reid Wiseman.
Thank you. Well done. We're going to get into questions very quickly, but it's very important for us to be up here. It's very, very important for us to be here, to be in Canada, to be with you all, to celebrate with you all. We were with the Prime Minister earlier this morning. I'll just share one short story. My kids love Tim Hortons coffee, maple donuts. I love maple cream cookies. There are so many great things here. But we were with the Prime Minister this morning, and the thing that really stood out to me, Jeremy talks about it all the time. The United States makes space for others to join, especially in the space program. Uniquely right now, maybe in the space program. And Canada has so much to offer as we go for a sustained lunar presence. And it was really dawning on me as I was listening to Jeremy and the Prime Minister talk. You all do exactly what we need done on the lunar surface. You're heavy into tech, you're heavy into people, you're heavy into culture. You have these areas of your nation that you need to go service to keep people alive. You need to get food there, you need to get clothing, shelter there. All the things that you're doing here and the way you all care for each other and care for us is exactly what we need as we begin a sustainable presence on the lunar surface. So you are with us, we are with you, and we can't wait to see what lies ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Reid. Thank you so much for that intro, and I'm so delighted to see you all here. Thanks so much. I was talking to Victor before, and he asked me what I do if I did this often. I was like, well, I do pre-show chats, post-show chats, you know, after a show. So this is the post-show chat. So they did a really huge show, and now we're chatting about it. So let's put it that way. Thank you, Victor. So, a question for the whole crew. So you can feel the energy, you can feel the excitement. Did you prepare? Did you work towards this? Like, were you prepared to receive all the love, all the amazing energy that you're receiving right now?
May I start? I think we sat down and we wrote out values and goals for this personally as a crew. And then we swung for the fence for humanity. You know, the way our patch is designed, the word all is there. We wanted this to be about togetherness and about, you know, the whole world. And I think we maybe actually got what we asked for, but the whole prep for it, we thought about it up front, but I don't know if we were really truly prepared for what has actually happened.
And anybody else on the impact that you're having and the envisioning the impact?
Not so much envisioning it, but just embracing it as a reaffirmation of what we believe in our hearts. I think what we all know as humans is true, is that we are better together. We know this. We are lifted up and we're filled up when we help up one another, when we create together. And it can get a little lost in today's society. We do have a little bit of, well, not a little bit, we have a cancel culture. We tear people apart for making mistakes. We make people afraid. We use fear. And this was just an affirmation that everybody knows this is true. We're better together. We're better when we create.
Jérémy, je vais me retourner vers vous. On va parler un peu français. Vous avez porté, comme j'ai mentionné, la langue française le plus loin que la langue n'a jamais été, évidemment. Vous avez collaboré avec des aînés autochtones, notamment en préparation à cette mission, et vous avez votre écusson, your patch is done by actually an artist from Manitoba, Henry Guimont. You had maple syrup aboard, did you? So, comment votre identité canadienne, comment ça a teinté la mission? Comment vous avez porté votre identité canadienne au-delà de la Lune?
En réalité, je n'ai jamais vraiment pensé de ça. C'était juste naturel. C'est mieux d'être authentique, selon moi. C'est ça que vous avez vu dans la capsule. 4 personnes qui étaient juste, we were just ourselves in the capsule when you saw us. And being authentic is just an easier way to do things. So I didn't give a lot of intentional thought to how to take Canada to space. But Canada very much went to space. And I rode on your shoulders.
Now, Jenni, you're going to add something, please.
Yeah, I would love to if now's the moment. I feel very grateful being here, being along with my friends who I had the privilege of speaking to when they were flying close to the moon and supporting this mission. And when we talk about what it means to have Canada fly in space and what that must have felt like, I was on the ground with presumably all of you, unless you were also in space at the time. I don't know for sure. But I just want to say the joy that I felt in observing this mission and following it. I was so proud as a Canadian to see Jeremy fly, and I started thinking about how we got there and how far Canada reached on that mission with our partners from NASA and the United States. And that might be the extent of our reach for now. We will go further. But if you trace that all the way back to the roots of the Canadian space program, the foundations, those are the people in this room. They're the people of Canada and the leaders in Canada who made decisions and invested in our space program many, many years ago. And the fruit of that labor is a mission like Jeremy's, and hopefully many more. So what it means to see Canada fly in space, I just was thinking back to hopefully what it means to all the people of Canada, the people who are proud to have Canadarm on their $5 bill, and the people that were so proud to see him fly, because that's really what it means to have Canadians fly in space. So hopefully all of you were as proud as I was.
Jenni, I'll stay with you if you don't mind. You had a very special mission of yourself. Like you say, you were on the ground in Houston. I would love for you to talk about the role that you played and the support you gave the crew when you were on the ground and they were around the moon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I had a lot of fun. I had a great time experiencing the launch. Maybe not as much fun as these 4, but I'll start by just acknowledging my colleague and a fellow backup crew member, Andre Douglas. He's back in the U.S. right now doing some training, but he and I were on this journey as backup crew members together, and that means you just do everything that it takes to be ready to swap in should anything happen, and you have to fly the mission. But the most likely outcome, and what did end up happening, is that Dre and I were supporting from the ground. So we supported the mission in a couple of ways. Pre-launch, we were in the capsule, the Integrity or Orion capsule, preparing it for crew ingress for these 4 to start their mission. And then, gosh, when that rocket lifted off, as fast as I possibly could, I was back to Houston and sitting in mission control for the burn where they made the decision to go to the moon, called the translunar injection. And really from then on, I was supporting from mission control. I acted as the capsule communicator to be the voice that goes up to the crew. And it was really special. Made me feel like a representative of them. But again, the biggest joy was just seeing the people that you love do what they were really meant to do. So that's how I would describe that experience. It was pretty special.
I thought we might have to do this, which is to tell you a little bit more about all the incredible contributions that Jenni made to our mission, because You probably saw every mic rush to every mouth up here because what she said was maybe 3% of her contributions. She was, and I think this might resonate in this place, the ultimate understudy for this mission. But not only that, she was ready to go on stage at any moment, and any of us would have trusted her with that mission at any time. But in addition, she brought so much value in cross-integration, bringing teams together, making forums where they didn't exist before, and bringing people to the table to make parts of the mission that were transition phases that no one was giving enough attention to ultimately successful. So you have no idea. Jenni, this absolutely would not have gotten off the ground without you. Moonjoy wouldn't have been a thing, and hearing your voice every single day that we had the privilege of speaking to you was absolutely phenomenal for us. Every time your voice crackled over the radio, we smiled and we were happy to hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this. Ici, on se trouve dans un lieu des arts de la scène, en fait. We're in an arts institution, for sure. So I'm very tempted, and I remember Chris Hadfield singing with his guitar when he was on his own mission. We didn't see you sing at all. But quelle aurait été la place des arts? Parce que we heard you were taking photos, there was a playlist, you know. Did art have a space? You were choreographing within, the capsule to just move around. Did the arts have a place either during the missions or the mission or before even?
I would love to start. The answer is categorically yes. When you're the first crew flying a spacecraft, we want to get out there and we want to get back alive. That's the bottom line. And that's not very artistic. That's just procedures in human nature. But we really flew a magnificent vehicle that was controlled by a huge and very competent team. And I think as you saw this mission transpire, for those of you that watched, the arts really played a huge role. And they didn't just play a huge role in the mission, they played a huge role in pre-flight as well. We actually reached out into the society and we found a poet, and we had that gentleman give us countless hours of instruction and homework and practice. How do you relay what you're seeing through the five senses and through poetry? We reached out to spiritual leaders in England who have studied the culture of the moon throughout the history of humanity. These were things that really resonated with us as the operators on this vehicle, and it's all tied into the arts. And even though Pink Pony Club Chorus didn't play, and we're still a little disgruntled, even music played a huge part. On the 7th, I'll tell you one just very quick story. On the 7th day of our mission, we had not had any music inside the spacecraft, and this young man found this commercial off-the-shelf speaker and a bunch of wires and figured out how to wire it in a little clandestine into our computer system. And then for the first time, we had shared music. We had our earbuds, but this was the first time we had shared music, and it was like the whole environment changed in that spacecraft. All of a sudden, we were peaceful, happier. It was more togetherness, and when somebody would float around and knock the cable out of the computer and it would go quiet, it was just like, what happened to the music? Where'd the music go? And it is amazing. We are definitely technical operators, but we are deeply passionate about the arts and what they bring, the richness that they bring, the way they connect society, and the joy that they brought us on this mission.
I would love to read those poems.
We will not share them.
We took the lessons. We're not saying they worked.
So of course we often focus on the immense technical and scientific expertise that you do have. That's for sure. I'm not the one to be speaking to mathematics or physics, but for sure the human qualities, the emotional qualities that are used or developed for this mission or for the job that you do What are the ones that are really the most important? Like, we do feel so much the humanity in all of you five, that's for sure. But when you think about it, when you do your training, which of those qualities are just essential?
We'll go right down the list. Yeah, I keep saying curiosity. When you're out doing this, we could send robotics to do these missions, but this brain, these eyes, curiosity, natural sense of wonder for me is very important.
I was asked for 3 years if I was excited, and it was weird to, tell people no. And I know this, but excitement just didn't capture the thing that was at the front of my mind, and it's not a feeling, but I guess I'd summarize it as focus. There's so many things going on, and it's actually one of the areas where Jenni helped bring some organization. There's so many things going on, and you're trying to maintain focus through it all. And so I think, I'm glad you said let's go down the line, though, because I also think it's not about one trait overriding. In the Bible, there's a scripture, love covers a multitude of sins. This concept that we can strengthen each other by our differences and cover the gaps that we might have. And so that was mine, was focus.
I may need someone to help me out if there's a word for this, but I'm going to say capacity to give grace. Because as a crew, we spent so much time understanding how we can work together the best we can, understanding how we can be a high-performing team under stressful situations, under long times together, day after day, working with the teams, grinding it out. And this ability to, when you look at your crewmate and you've basically been on a 3-year family vacation with them, to still love them every single minute, because you're just finding the beauty in everything, in who they are. And maybe more importantly, accepting that they're doing the same for you.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up grace. We had a lot of grace in the capsule. It's actually where I was going to go, but I'll pivot to another one, which is persistence. Victor often, used to, in the beginning, would focus us a lot on the pursuit of excellence, because you do need excellence to get to the moon and back as a team, not just as a team of 6 astronauts, but as an entire team, you need that excellence. But there's something that's often, I think, misunderstood and comes from our space culture, which is failure is not an option. It's a great quote that comes out of that Apollo 13 movie, and you see it written on T-shirts, but a lot of people think that just means your team doesn't fail, or you put together a team that will not fail, and that's just not the truth. Like, that doesn't exist anywhere. And so the reality is that we do fail. We have a lot of failures. We have a lot of challenges that we bump up against. But we have a culture that we won't rest in that failure. We won't stop there. We will be persistent, and we will co-create a solution. We'll get over the thing that caused the failure, and we won't try and point fingers and figure it out. We just move on to the solution-creating aspect of the problem.
For me, I would choose something that is kind of woven through all the answers that we've heard on this question so far. But what comes to mind is connection. And we say that in our office, a lot of the work we do is based on relationships that you have with each other, and relationships that you have with the rest of the ground team, the subject matter experts who are teaching you and working with you when you're in mission control. But the reason why I think connection really stands out to me in hearing the rest of the crew speak is that that's what was so different and interesting and exciting about this mission. A big part of it was the fact that this mission shared the human experience, and we were all able to connect with it. And I think it was the associate administrator during the end of the mission, he said, we're talking about things things like love on this mission, and if you're not going to go to the moon for love, then we're like, what are you doing this for? It's about human experience and connection, and I think that connected us with a lot of people around the world too. That was really important for me throughout the training for this flow.
So he started by saying excitement, and I just got to get this in there. So we have just gone from 39 times the speed of sound. We've come through Earth's atmosphere at 4 Gs, fire everywhere, parachutes are opening. We splash down in the Pacific Ocean. We open our visors. This guy sitting next to me, he looks over and goes, "Now, I'm excited."
We're going to turn to the audience. On va se retourner vers vous bientôt pour les questions que vous pouvez poser dans la langue de votre choix. But I have a last one before, but I'm just mentioning it so you can think about it. So I hear so much commitment, like so much for a long time, this commitment. So I'm tempted to ask, like, when did you know, like, I feel I'm going to make a relation to the arts again, but, you know, like ballet dancers, they start really early on. You know, musicians, they practice, you know, since such a young age. And so I'm tempted to ask you, when did you know that you had that in you, that was exactly what you wanted to do, be an astronaut, which sounds like a child's dream, really.
Well, I'll start by saying that when I was 5, my mom put me on ballet, and it didn't take long to know that I would never become a ballet dancer. But I do not remember a time when I didn't want to be an astronaut. I've tried to remember, and all I know is I've been saying it for as long as I can remember, and I never grew out of it. It just kept growing. I kept discovering new things that drew me closer to it, also accepting that my path to become an astronaut might be pretty unconventional, and therefore I might never have that moment where I know, but certainly never know that it will happen, but also know that I definitely would love for it to happen, that it was a dream of mine, and through an unconventional path, I was fortunate enough that it happened.
Only because I see so many young people, I think it's important to like flesh out the path that she talked about. I actually had what you could consider a very traditional path, at least the first NASA astronauts. My resume looks very similar to theirs, but I didn't know that as a kid. I would stare up at the moon, but it was also like, you know, I also watched Buck Rogers, and it was about the same reality for me. In 5th grade, I love mathematics. Math has always spoken to me. And I'm talking to the young people. I see a young man in a spacesuit. I also see this just really well-dressed young man. But it doesn't matter if you think you want to be an astronaut now. It was way off my radar. In 5th grade, someone said to me, you know, you might make a great engineer one day. And in my slideshow that I go to schools, I have a train with the loud horn come through right when I say that, because I thought it meant driving trains. And I had no idea what they were actually saying to me. But the point of that is, even without knowing I would eventually wind up here or even have a shot at it, what I did know at the time was my mentors, my scout leaders, my youth pastor, my mom, my dad, they all said to do certain things. And if I did those things, I grew. I got better. I learned to be a teammate. I learned to, you know, count on others and to share what I was going through and to use all of that to get better. And along the way, it still led to growth. And so when I made this decision to apply, I was further along that path than I thought I would be because I was listening to other people.
Jeremy, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I feel people would love to hear your version of this.
I was inspired by Apollo. Happened before I was born, but I had a book on the shelf at home, Encyclopedia A, and in there was airplanes, fascinated with airplanes. And then one day flipped to the wrong page and hit Armstrong and saw a picture of Neil Armstrong on the moon. And I know this page, I know it's part of my path because I went back to it so many times through my childhood, just go back to that page and stare at that picture. In fact, I told this story so many times that Christina gifted me an Encyclopedia A book, so it's sitting in my office. So she could tell the rest of the story. But the key was, when I look back on it, is, it's not that I was inspired to be an astronaut, but I was setting goals, but I was telling other people about them. And that's how this happens, is anything of significance in your life you don't do as an individual, you do as a team. And the one thing, since we're directing this to the youth, the one thing that all of us up here can guarantee you is you are going to run into obstacles. No matter where you're trying to go, you are going to be stopped, and you are going to think you have failed. You are going to think it's not going to work. That's just a guarantee. And that's when the people you've told are going to help pick you up and remind you that there is a path through, that you can create a solution. So yes, absolutely, set goals. They don't have to be career goals, but just set goals in your life and have the courage to share them with other people.
So it's time to turn to the audience now. So you have 2 microphones here, one on my left, one on my right. I am going to ask you, if possible, je vais vous demander de vous limiter à une seule question de laisser la chance à tout le monde. So only one question, please, and a brief question, so everybody has time to ask the question, because there's a lot of people walking to the microphones here. Yes. So I'm going to start on my left here.
As a teacher by training, I will keep it brief. What was something that either surprised you most or truly took your breath away, like you did not expect to happen?
Yes. Christina just said yes. As a crew, we dubbed Earth Tiny Earth because it is so small out the window, it's unbelievable. So I just want to put it in perspective that Earth is tiny when you're 250,000 miles, 400,000 kilometers away. But I think for me, the thing that really surprised me the most is we had a very unique opportunity launching on April 1st where the sun would eclipse behind the moon. And we'd seen eclipses from Earth where the sun and the moon are about the same size, but up there, the sun was, I think, 35 times smaller than the moon because we were so close to the moon. And as that sun eclipsed behind the moon, we had a lot of science to do, but we very quickly I heard gasps, I heard, oh my God, I heard, I can't believe this. And when I came out from behind the camera, Victor invited me up into the docking tunnel to look kind of obliquely through this window. And when I did, I just looked at him. I'm like, I don't think the human mind has evolved to the point of being able to understand what we are looking at. And I think he grabbed the microphone and told Houston, we just went sci-fi. And in all the training, that for me was the thing. There's so many unbelievable parts of this mission, but if you just want one singular thing that the human eye saw that was very hard to comprehend, it was seeing the fully eclipsed, three-dimensional, matte black moon directly out the window, and it is just pulling us around it. It was crazy.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn to the right here. It would be nice if you say your name before you ask your question, if you don't mind.
My name is Daniel, and how many months do you have to train to be an astronaut and go to space?
Yeah, I can take this one. I've not been to space yet, so I'll let you know when that happens. But for this mission, these guys trained for 3 years. I was with them for 2.5, correct? But really, I don't mean to be facetious, but like training starts now. I mean, there's stuff that you can do before you're in an astronaut corps to prepare to go to space, like working on a team and sharpening any of your academic skills, learning how you lead and learn and follow. Once you're in an astronaut corps, you have basic training that takes 2 years, and after that, you're considered assignable for a mission. And then the path to flight, once you're assigned, can be anywhere from, I would say, 1 to 3 years. And then please add any of my colleagues if there's anything there. But good question.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Hi, my name is Andrea. I've really enjoyed following this journey with you. I guess first, thank you for inspiring so many. I'm going to get emotional saying this, but it's just been a great privilege to watch you together, both in Artemis and afterwards. Jeremy, during one of your presentations while you were in space, you talked about how Apollo 13 was the most realistic movie to what it was like in space. I went back and I watched it afterwards. you talk so much about how you grew as a family, you've lived together for 3 years training, and you were in such tight quarters for 10 days. Was there really no point during the period that, you know, you just wanted to yell at each other or be a family, I guess? I was really curious about that.
You notice that when we got back, we were all pretty tired and pretty emotional from the experience. And in our conference when we got back, we all said some pretty meaningful things, I think. But one of the ones that we talked about was joy, and being on the joy train, and just acknowledging that we do all get off the joy train sometimes, and not. It's okay when it's just one, and then the other three can help get them back on, and then sometimes it's all four of us get off the joy train, and then or all six of us sometimes. I mean, you really do understand that it was weird for us. We trained as a crew of 6 for all that time, and then we had to go do it without them, without Trey and Jenni. That was an adjustment for us. But we have gotten adept at getting back on the joy train because we make the assumption of good intention. Like, we just know that. You know, and I think this relates to our relationships around the world right now. And the one we talk a lot about right now in the news is Canada-US. But we know overall the intentions are good. That love, that interdependence is real. And that's what we have in this crew. We're just demonstrating that for you. And so we, as quickly as we can, get back to that grace. So, but in the capsule, we were just having the most extraordinary experience. We were on a high. There really wasn't much of that going on at all. I mean, we definitely tried. Like, I opened up a food bag, and it kind of ripped quickly on me, and it got away from me, and I flipped food all across the capsule, and it was all over Victor. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm sorry. And I went to get a dry wipe, but by the time I got back there, he's like, it's okay, I got it. And he was just eating it off his shirt. So most of our examples are more like that.
Good afternoon. It is very humbling to have you here. Thank you very much. My name is Marie-Ève, and Daniel, my son, previously spoke to you. As a parent, I'm looking for your guidance through your experience in understanding on how I can better support my son in his passions and going forward. So, apologies, I'm a little bit timid. But yeah, so what was the support you guys have personally received from parents and family members that could enable me and other parents here to better support their children and their dreams? Thank you.
Well, I'm the only non-parent up here, so definitely can take this one. But I realized that actually I can just reflect on my own parents, and very quickly something formulated in my head, which is to be authentic and be yourself. As a parent and as a person, my parents could not be more different. And my dad was the one that we talked about black holes around the dinner table with, and my mom is who I call my moral compass. And they parented me as authentically as they could, and as a result, they showed me the example to be your authentic self, and I think that may be the most important thing.
Can I? Well, there's a proverb, and it's probably in several languages and cultures, but it takes a community to raise a child, or it takes a village to raise a child. And I just will say, there are times where I'm like, hey, will you tell my daughter this? Or, hey, they're going to start a text string, and can you interject here? Or, hey, I want to talk to your kid, you talk to my kid. Like, we do that. And so I think that is just something else that bubbles to the surface. It's a team sport.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katrina. I also work in the space sector, and I just want to say I listened and watched an absurd amount of content on the mission, and I was completely in awe by both your competence, but your humanity in this mission, so thank you. And my question is, as a professional, I often internally have this tension between what I feel is excellence and play, fun, humor. And I want to hear you about how you reconcile that and how that actually might make you better and more excellent, that concept of play and just having fun. Yeah.
Who's going to take this one? There's negotiation going on here.
I
thought
just said,
Reid was
Jeremy,
gonna
you need to
take
take
it,
this
but-
because you're the best. Like, he can throw down humor in the middle of a complicated thing. So I think you should just talk about it a little bit. But
I don't know what to say. I think you got to read the room at the moment, but I think there's a lot of place for that. Like for me personally, I diffuse a lot of my energy through a little bit of humor. Like that just really helps me out in life. And there's a lot in life you can laugh at, and I'm usually in the middle of a lot of it actually. So I think there's a lot of room for that, but as long as it's respectful, I make fun of the ones I love the most is typically how it goes. And so Reid and I have been on this journey together since 2009 when we joined as astronauts. So when this crew was starting to form, I knew him best, and so I just hammer him all the time. But that's how he knows I love him. If I stopped making fun of him, he wouldn't know. And then over time, we all developed that bond. So, but I appreciate that you highlight excellence because, like Reid was saying, I mean, we really wanted to survive. And there's a lot of ways you can kill yourself 400,000 kilometers from Earth. There just are. And so you have to strike the right balance.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello. Did you want to say hello? My name is Altanay, and this is Edward. I'm a Canadian immigrant, and I come from Kyrgyzstan. And Kyrgyz people are fascinated with the moon, so my name means golden moon. And so today we all feel like you brought us some moon dust, so we feel elevated in this space. Eddie wanted to ask a question, but he's feeling a little bit shy. Do you want to ask your questions? All right. His first question is answered. He wanted to know when you wanted to become astronauts. And his second question is what it takes for you to become astronauts, what he needs to do to become an astronaut. And his sister, who's here, Lana, she wants to become a space engineer. So she also wants to know, how do people become like you people? Thank you.
I'll start. I've, for many years, I never knew what it took to become an astronaut. I just lived my life and I tried to do things that I love to do. And that was always my answer to this question. Just find something that you love to do and go and do it. Find that passion. And you do not have to follow a recipe book to become an astronaut. In fact, I think oftentimes that is the wrong thing to go try to do. If you like flying airplanes, fly airplanes. If you like dancing ballet, do ballet. If you like drawing, there are elements for everybody in any career. And I think if you go and if you follow your passion, you might not get to the thing you originally set out to get to, but you're going to find the most rich life that you could ever find. I was at a concert in Moscow in Russia when I was training over there, and the first chair violin started to play a solo to open this concert. I'm going to get emotional right now. And I just started crying because this gentleman was playing this violin, and it was so beautiful. There was nothing I could do except for cry. And I thought, what a gift that somewhere along the line, this little kid picked up a violin and just realized he loved it. And that's the path right there. But recently, Christina has started saying something that I'm going to steal shamelessly and use it forever, which is find something that you love doing as slow as, she's more eloquent, but as slow as you can, the thing that you just don't get bored of, that you just can go slow and appreciate every element of it. That's probably the right path.
Before we take the next question, there's something we often add on to that, which is you have to do things. Like you have to do things. You can't just think about it. You can't just dream about it. You can't just tell others about it. You have to do the things that scare you. You have to get out there and push yourself.
I like that. Hi there, my name's Natalie. I was really inspired by your discussions about art and the importance of arts as you prepared and the importance of making these cultural connections to space as you prepared. So I'm just wondering what your vision is for the future of humanity's cultural relationship with space? It's a big question, but what would you love to see?
We work with a lot of scientists and engineers, and I will tell you, something that I find often is our educational system works, but it teaches us kind of in stovepipes, but problems in life don't come at us in academic titles, you know, and so I often find myself wishing they had a better grasp of speaking ability or writing ability, and so that's just one thing, right? All of us need to have a healthy appreciation for the art of communication. The science of it too, but the art of communication, and to me that's one, and it relates to what the young lady said earlier about wonder and fun and technical competence, right? I was 37 and had the engineering degree, so the reputation had gone to a point where I could play more and have more fun, but at some point we all have to remember that engineers are the people who build culture. Like you can't disconnect them just because you learned them that way.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Erin. Everyone is asking such eloquent questions. I'm going to ask a true Canadian question about the maple cookies. First time eating them, obviously not for the Canadians. Can you tell us what brand they were? It's just such a lovely moment, and especially as a Canadian, to hear that you guys got to have like a little bit of Canadiana while you were on the other side of the moon is so delightful.
I'm going to start, and then I'm going to pass it to Victor, because I've just noticed this new thing he's doing. He's got this quick draw thing he does with his microphone out of his pocket.
I
It's
know, I
hilarious.
noticed it from the beginning. It's great.
I'll cue you. Victor, tell us about the cookies.
They were delicious. I don't know what brand, but we had, you know, people ask about the moment we went behind the moon and lost communication with the Earth, and one of the things that we decided to do was have a maple cookie. I don't know if I can give maple cookies a better endorsement.
So as the Earth is eclipsing behind the moon, which is a crazy statement to begin with, Christina and Victor were doing all the science observations. So they were taking all the photos of Earthsat, and they were describing everything they were seeing on the lunar surface. And Jeremy and I were back there cutting open little bags of maple cream cookies and preparing them. And one of the cookies had just its little maple leaf arm was broken off. And I was like, I felt so bad for that little cookie. And Christina ate that cookie with joy.
Hi there, I'm John Matheson, and I first just want to say I love you all, and I'm grateful for the example that you're showing to all of us. So my question is, thanks. This morning I was at the War Museum here in Ottawa, and in the World War I exhibition there's an aerial photograph of Passchendaele after the fighting. And what struck me, knowing I would be here today, was that it looked exactly like the surface of the moon. It was completely lifeless, and it seemed like it was destroyed. It was destroyed. So I wonder how you reconcile the awesome experience of seeing Earth's magnificence from space with the reality of war and destruction on the ground, and what lessons you might be able to share with us.
I got it. Did you want it? It's a very difficult question to answer. I think it's very personal. I'll start. Jeremy will clean up. Thank you, Jeremy. But we do get a unique perspective. On the International Space Station, 250, 400 kilometers up, you get a very unique perspective. But we got a very unique perspective on this mission. And it does leave you with this sense of fragility of the Earth. It is one Earth. It is all our Earth. And you do get this sense of like, why war? Why differences? Why any sort of argument ever? Why anything other than love and joy? But I also know that I try to respect the differences. It sometimes is hard. It's especially hard right now where we don't seem to communicate across these differences. But the four of us, the five of us, we are not the same. We have tons of differences. And the amount of growth I've done as a human being, because I have worked with Victor, Christina, Jeremy, and Jenni, that comes from our differences. So I don't necessarily look at differences as a bad thing. I look at the way we sometimes fail to communicate, fail to see each other. That's the thing that I struggle with.
Yeah, Yeah, it's definitely worth clapping for. That resonates a lot. And I wanted to sort of just speak to you because I think we all have that same question. When this patch came out of a relationship that was built with the Turtle Lodge, which is a center in Manitoba for just bringing different Indigenous perspectives together, because there are so many different Indigenous cultures. And that was a pretty unique experience for me. I had a number of opportunities to visit, and out of one of those visits, I was invited to go on a vision quest. And a vision quest is typically a rite of passage into manhood, but you can do it at different phases of life. And the idea there is that you go and you spend 4 days and you fast without food and water. My flight surgeon was not excited about this idea. But I assured him I would bow out if I needed to. But in this culture, they've been doing it for thousands of years, and it's something you can absolutely do with the right preparation. And I was guided through this, but going into that, I actually took basically that question with me into that vision quest, which was how like I have such an amazing life, so many great challenges, an amazing family, wife, kids, so much happiness, so much joy, but how can I be happy in a world that you're highlighting and the issues going on in the world? Like, how can I just separate myself and do that and not be tackling all of these global issues? And that is what I took into that vision quest with me, and what I left with was, the weight of the world is not on your shoulders as an individual, but what you do with your energy day to day is on your shoulders as an individual. And all of us have a choice when we get up. We can use our energy for good or we can use our energy for bad. And your job, your purpose in life is joy. It just is. That's what you're here for. Your purpose is joy, but it's to also add joy to the world. So your job is just to get up every day and use your energy for good.
So, we are going to take one last question. They're busy people. Yes, yes. So I'm going to turn to you for the last question.
Hi, my name's Olivia. I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of people when I say the feeling of seeing a braid in space.
Yes. Yes. That was very important.
It was pretty emotional. It was pretty incredible. I wanted to ask, a lot of people in Ottawa here, we watched the launch on April 1st on a huge screen right outside this building. I wanted to ask about, you touched on the feeling of togetherness that you guys have, but I wanted to ask about that sort of feeling of togetherness that people had in public spaces, and also of knowing that you were sort of being watched in these huge public spaces.
Thank you for that question, and thank you for the comment about the braid. When I originally took the braid selfie, I saw the braid and I was like, it's kind of in the way. And then suddenly I realized what it meant, and I appreciate that it did mean something to you. We each had 2 family conferences, 2 times to talk to our loved ones during the mission, and on the second one, my husband, sort of near the end of our conversation, sat me down. I wasn't actually sitting, I was floating, but he floated me down. And he needed to tell me something. Because we were saying goodbye, he's like, you need to know something. This mission is having an incredible impact down here. It's moving people across lines. Everyone is paying attention. We didn't know the public was watching us. Actually, we thought our friends in Mission Control were watching us, so we just thought we were on a screen for our best friends. And we knew that our audio was going out publicly, but I didn't realize that impact. And when he very seriously told me this, he's like, you need to know this. And I just stared back at him on the screen and started crying, tears just started streaming, not down, they just fill your eyes. They were like this, just kept patting them off. And all I could say was, that's all we ever wanted. And I think I just repeated it back to him because it was our dream from the beginning. All we ever wanted was to be able to move the needle to hopefully tell people that our shared humanity is the most important thing we have, that we live on a precious lifeboat, that we are a crew. And the fact that that was resonating down here was the gift that you all gave us. And thank you for that. Thank you for coming together in those spaces, for being one, because that is truly the best gift you could ever give us.
Christina, that is such a great final note. It's amazing. Thank you for that generosity, for bringing all your humanity here with us. Thank you for being here. I take a lot of things out of this conversation, that's for sure. But the one thing that I would put forward is how human qualities is what's going to take us further and further all the time. So thank you so much, and thank you. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été là. Merci.